is a glorious weather night for baseball in downtown Cincinnati. Crowd rolling into Great American Ballpark. It's the opening game of this three-game series. The hottest team in all the National League comes a call in for three. The Washington Nationals to take on the Cincinnati Reds. Hi again, everybody. Alongside the Cowboy, Jeff Brantley and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome to Reds Baseball. Not only are the Nationals the hottest team in baseball, they have undeniably the hottest single player in all of Major League Baseball, the former #1 pick overall 4 years ago in Bryce Harper.
They really do, Tom. When you look at Bryce Harper right now, it makes me think of Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire. Those are the kind of numbers he's putting up. And those are scary numbers. Even when Bryce Harper misses a baseball, it seems to go out of the ballpark. When you're hitting the ball as well as this kid is right now, and being able to take two-strike pitches that are just inches off the plate, that means he's seeing the ball well. If I'm pitching to Bryce Harper tonight, I'm sending him 4 pitches off the plate and down to first.
Well, the man who has the task of trying to slow him and the Nationals down tonight, coming off a very, very impressive outing in Cleveland last weekend, is the rookie right-hander Anthony DeSclafani. Why the big turnaround last week?
Well, I think the one thing, Tom, that he did was really throwing the ball inside with some effectiveness. I know that for DeSclafani, he counts on that two-seam fastball. It works so well against right-handed batters. But sometimes when he comes inside, the ball tends to sink down into the dirt. When he went against Cleveland last time out, 4-seamers inside, it made them respect the sinker even more.
You know, the other side of the ledger tonight, I would have to say the most perplexing single player perhaps in all of Major League Baseball, another former #1 pick overall in Steven Strasburg. Look at those numbers.
We all get in bad habits, whether you're a hitter or a pitcher. And right now, I think Steven Strasburg has a little bit of difficulty in his sight lines coming to the plate. His pitch is right about mid-thigh instead of at the bottom of the knee where he needs to be.
Well, we'll hope that trend continues tonight. The Reds could use a win. They lost the series to begin this homestand against Colorado. A bit home run happy are these Redlegs. Jim Day has that story and more when we come back. You're watching Cincinnati Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time.
Good evening. Temperatures this evening are going to be fairly warm. We'll start off around 80 by the start of the game against the Washington Nationals. Any chances for rain will be very slight and should stay to the east of town. Temperatures will fall to about 73 by the end of the game with partial clearing, and we should stay relatively quiet overnight. Let's go Reds.
I'm Jim Day. You know that Great American Ballpark is a very homer-friendly place. There's some humidity in the air. It's hot. Look out. These two teams facing off against each other tonight. Double look out, because you look at our Elk and Elk storylines for this night and you'll see that both of these teams are very reliant on the long ball. The Reds score 45.9% of their runs via the long ball. Dodgers, Brewers, Rockies, and these very own Nationals in that same category. The Nationals at a 40.2% clip. So tough night for the pitchers ahead. And perhaps a tough night for Steven Strasburg, and particularly in that first at-bat for Todd Frazier. Look at his numbers this season. 6 of his 14 home runs have been hit in the first inning. He's hitting .429 in the first inning and just a .216 batting average after that. So get to Frazier early or look out. Todd Frazier and the Reds after an off day hope to get back to some better days. Around the corner, lineups and first pitch. Tom Brenneman and the Cowboy are next.
Downtown Cincinnati. A little on the muggy side, late this afternoon, but now early evening. Temperatures have cooled a bit. Nothing cool about the way Matt Williams' team is playing right now. They are red hot. He was the National League's Manager of the Year his first a season ago. And his lineup tonight reads as follows. Denard Span in center. Ian Desmond, the shortstop. Yunel Escobar over at third. Bryce Harper out in right field. Ryan Zimmerman, now a first baseman, with Wilson Ramos behind the plate. Espinosa, the second baseman. Michael Taylor in left. Strasburg 3 up, 5 down on the mound. Starting it for the Reds, 24-year-old right-hander. 2-4 record, an ERA of under 3.5. Anthony DeSclafani. Denard Span settles in. He looks at strike one, says Jerry Meals, our home plate umpire tonight. And this game is officially underway. Nationals 28 wins against 19 losses. And they have virtually been unbeatable for nearly a month on the ground. And a good way to get it started. Schumacher throws out Span. Take a look at the Red Zone defense presented by your Ford dealers. Hamilton flanked by Bird and Bruce in the outfield. Frazier and Cozart the left side of the infield. Schumacher again for the ailing Brandon Phillips, still bothered by that turf toe. Joey Votto at first, and Pena hanging the side.
Yeah, if you're Anthony DeSclafani, you keep the ball down there as you did with Span, especially against the left-handed batters, one in particular waiting in the wings. You can have some success against this club, but you have got to stay down.
Back up through the middle. Schumacher in shallow center field, and his throw will not be in time. That'll be an infield hit for Ian Desmond.
Desmond likes to swing early in the count, and now a 13-game hitting streak. Desmond, one of those guys, if it's close, he's hacking. It doesn't matter if it's fastball, changeup, curveball, knuckleball, whatever it is. If he can reach it, he's going to swing.
Washington's recent offensive surge has propelled them to the top of the rankings within the National League in so many categories. They're first in runs, first in RBIs, first in runs per game. I mean, that's a number all over baseball that the last number of years has been declining. Certainly the Nationals are against the tide in that column. They're second in home runs, third in slugging percentage, third in walks. They have the fourth base on base percentage, and their batting average is right in about the middle of the pack. But they're drawing a lot of walks, thus the on base percentage. They hit a lot of home runs. They score a lot of runs.
Well, the problem that you get into as a pitcher is allowing the first three batters to get aboard and having to face Harper or pitch to him.
And that's a problem for DeSclafani here in the first inning. That one shot into left center field. Throw goes into third. And safely into third is Desmond on the single by Escobar. And with runners on the corners and one out, here comes Bryce Harper.
And that is the problem that a lot of pitchers have faced with the Nationals here as of late. Whether it be Span, Desmond, or Escobar, they're getting on base with seemingly every night regularity. And now you have to face Harper. You can't pitch around him or pitch him tight. Then you load the bases for the guy standing on deck who's got a 9-game hitting streak in Zimmerman.
It's already his fourth full season in the major leagues, and he is 22 years young. Drafted out of high school, the first pick in the first round in 2010. And this is the first year he is finally healthy and putting it all together. Fouled straight back to the screen. When you consider that prior to this year, a season high in home runs for Bryce Harper was 22. He has 18, and we're still in May. His career high in runs batted in for a season was his first season, 59. He has 43, and we're in May.
The numbers he's putting up right now are sick.
Beat in there with a fastball to get ahead, 0-2.
The number that, or just the graphic, I guess, that I saw today, or statistic, however you want to explain it. The fact that he's never faced a pitcher younger than himself. He's 22 years old. Granted, he's very young. He was young when he got to the big leagues. But I mean, that ought to tell you something about what he's doing.
0-2 pitch. And that just missed. And to put it perhaps even crystallizing a bit more in perspective, the Reds more than likely will push Johnny Cueto back to Monday, which means they would start 3 rookie pitchers in this series. DeSclafani, Iglesias, Lorenzen. All 3 of them are older than Bryce Harper. And he is in 4th year in the big leagues. 1-2 pitch. Bouncer, foul.
when your emotional leader is putting up the numbers that you were talking about earlier, and let's face facts, Bryce Harper is the emotional leader of this Washington Nationals club. When he's putting up numbers like that, that's why they're on the roll they're on.
Started to late off. Harper earned a GED after just 2 years at Las Vegas High School. Was on the cover of Sports Illustrated while in high school. Told you the #1 pick in 2010. He signed late. They sent him to the Florida Instructional League, the Arizona Fall League. In 2011, split that year between Hagerstown and Harrisburg. Began 12 in AAA. Finished the year as a regular with a major league club.
And he got the GED so he could start the spring with his professional club.
Strike 3 call.
He didn't like that one.
And Harper has some fire now. He was just thrown out of the game 2 days ago.
Right at the top of the strike zone. And Bryce Harper, more times than not, is not going to argue with an umpire on a call like that. He may not like it, but where his issue comes in is when he checks his swing or feels like he checked his swing and there's no check down to the third baseline. That's when he really snaps.
I had a situation the other day when he got thrown out where the umpire was telling him to get in the batter's box, and he, sort of showed the umpire up. Ryan Zimmerman pops it up, and that one will drift out of play. Strike 1 to the former All-Star third baseman, now a first baseman. But Harper, in a way, sort of showed the umpire up, and before you know it, see you later.
Now, was this the game where Matt Williams got thrown out and say, yeah? Well, I think in defense of Harper in that situation, when you've got a home plate umpire arguing with a manager, out of respect for your manager, you stay out of the box and let that discussion continue.
0-1 the count on Zimmerman. And that is strike 2 from DeSclafani, a 94-mile-per-hour fastball in the outside corner.
That is the pitch that really helped DeSclafani in his last start. That four-seamer that stayed true and stayed down and away from righties and in on the lefties.
Back-to-back singles with one out by Desmond and Escobar. They're at third and first respectively. 2 away in the inning, and now DeSclafani tries to put away Zimmerman ahead, no balls and 2 strikes. Which, he thought he did, so did his infield. I mean, everybody made 2 or 3 steps headed to the dugout.
He put that in the identical spot of the previous pitch.
High fly ball into right center field. This will be playable for Jay Bruce, and that'll do it in the Nationals' first inning. Good work by Mr. DeSclafani. Reds are coming up. We're scoreless. the first inning. Let's take a look at Brian Price's starting lineup tonight, presented by Meyer. Cozart, Votto, and Bruce to start it. Jay Bruce in right field. Pena behind the plate. Marlon Byrd in left. The latter third of Schumacher. D. Sclafani again batting eighth. And again, Billy Hamilton bats ninth. A year before Bryce Harper was the first overall pick in the draft, it was Steven Strasburg, the #1 overall pick in the draft in 2009. A year later, made 12 starts in the major league, struck out 14 in his major league debut without a walk. Only 2 pitchers in the history of the game struck out more in a major league debut than did Strasburg against the Pirates on that day. And everybody thought this will be one of the next great pitchers in baseball. Later that season, it ended prematurely. He had a torn ligament in his elbow as that ball is in the air to deep left center field. Span looking into the sun will track it down. He had Tommy John surgery, came back Cowboy the next year. Finished the year with the big league club, making 5 starts. A 15-game winner in 2012, under 500, a very good ERA his second year. Won 14, lost 11, really good ERA last year. But this year, you look inside the numbers, you can't believe it, how bad they have been.
I think if you watch as we move along in this ball game, and you see where that last pitch to Votto, the pitch to Cozart, those balls are mid-thigh. Those are not well-located pitches. Now, velocity-wise, yes, they are. But you can't rely on sheer velocity to get out major league hitters. Even Aroldis Chapman has to spot the ball every once in a while.
Now, this is one guy that Strasburg has had his way with, and that's Joey Votto. Now, granted, small sample size, only 7 at bats, but 1 hit, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. Story's been told many, many times before. The same youth team produced Steven Strasburg and Mike Leake in San Diego, California. Both grew up in the same neighborhood. 2-2 delivery. And Votto hits a ball hard into deep left center field. And that ball is gone. That is Joey Votto's first home run here in the month of May.
Watch where this pitch is. You see the mitt? It's up and out over the plate, and that's exactly where that pitch ends up.
Votto's last home run came on April the 28th. It was his 7th of the year to cap off a brilliant month of April. And here we are with only 3 days left in the month of May. And that's his first. And there's a base hit by Frazier.
Tom, I think if you watch the mitt as Wilson Ramos sets up, his mitt is above the knee of every hitter that comes to the plate. That's not where you want to throw the ball if you're on the mound. You want the ball down at the bottom of the kneecap, not above it. Look where that mitt is. That's up mid-thigh. I don't want my target there. I guarantee you Steven Strasburg has got to be wondering what's going on. I'm throwing 97 and I'm getting hammered.
There's one, and now they have Frazier in a rundown. He's tagged out immediately, and that'll end the inning. But some hard hit balls. One of them leaves the yard off the bat of Joey Votto to give the Reds at the end of one a 1-0 lead. He's a subject of our IGS Bringing the Energy. Look at his numbers, Cowboy, and this is rookie season. When facing right-handed batters, they are extraordinary.
And I think what that shows you is how good his sinker is running in on right-handers. And if you're a right-handed batter, you have to respect that fastball inside, and it opens up the entire rest of the plate.
Wilson Ramos, right-handed batter, hitting at .273. One of the real keys to the National success has been keeping Ramos healthy. Oft-injured backstop, a very good player. And obviously, when you're playing the way they have been playing after a dreadful start, you have to have a lot of things go your way, and Ramos could help, a big factor. A ground ball to Frazier. 1 out to begin this second inning. David Espinosa, .256, has 6 home runs and 14 runs batted in. Espinosa's pretty much been an all or nothing kind of hitter. For a middle infielder, he has tremendous power. They play in a big ballpark. He's had home run seasons of 21, 17. Last year slipped down to 8. He's always had a very low batting average and on base percentage, but an excellent defender. He bounces out for the second out of the inning. Now, it's not like the Nationals are without their fair share of injuries. Jason Worth, very good outfielder, their primary right fielder the last number of years when Harper was in left. He got hit on the wrist, and a wrist that has been surgically repaired already once in his career. He got hit on the wrist a few weeks ago, continues to play. Got worse. They sent him back to see the team doctor. Found a couple of small fractures in there. He's going to be out for quite a while. They're saying August. And then the other big one is their third baseman, and what a player he has a chance to be, and Anthony Rendon. He's on rehab for a strained oblique muscle. And he's already been out with a knee injury.
Yeah, he missed a lot of time with a knee injury. And the fact that you have your all-star Gold Glove third baseman now playing first because of a shoulder injury.
They have drafted extraordinarily well. They were so bad for so many years that they were getting the top pick 2 years in a row. We talked about Strasburg, talked about Harper. Zimmerman was here from the very beginning when they made the move into D.C., #1 pick out of the University of Virginia. But Rendon now is another one to watch out for. #1 pick in 2011. And all he did his first full year in the big leagues last year, at 23 years of age, was hit nearly .290 with 21 home runs and 39 doubles. Playable for Votto. It should be a 1-2-3 inning, and it is for DeSclafani. Reds lead after an inning and a half in the opener of this weekend series, 1-0. presented by Ford. Span in center, flanked by Taylor and Harper. Escobar, a one-time shortstop, now at third with the injury to Rendon. Desmond, Espinosa, Zimmerman rounding out the infield. We mentioned Ramos behind the plate. It's got a home run by Joey Votto in the opening inning. And it's 1-0 as the Reds bat here in the home half of the second inning.
I think when you look at Strasburg's numbers, now these can be deceiving, they can be manipulated a little bit, but when hitters are batting almost 400 on balls that they put in play, that doesn't usually work out real well for you. But I think the big key for Strasburg is the difficulty he's had against right-handed batters. He's a right-handed pitcher. Now, if it was left-handed, you could understand, but he's had a lot of tough times against right-handed hitters. And a lot of that has to do with fastball location away from arm side, down in the zone, and the breaking ball in a good spot. And right now, his breaking ball is a big sweeper.
You know, when Leake and Strasburg were teammates, and we're talking about really young kids, 10, 11 years old. They played on a team called the Sting in San Diego. And Strasburg was a big power pitcher guy, just like he is now. Mike Leake was the catcher. And they often used to talk about a big tournament game they played, and only 11 years old, and Strasburg was getting knocked around. He walked off the mound crying and went home. And there's ball 4 to Pena. And, you know, there were a number of his teammates growing up. He got to San Diego State as a freshman. He was way overweight. He didn't look interested in baseball, then finally committed himself, you know, grew up a lot, matured a lot, and became the kind of pitcher that everybody thought he could become. And now the training staff, along with the manager, Matt Williams, and the pitching coach, are going to come out to check in on Steven Strasburg. You never like to see this.
No. And you have to wonder, just looking at some of those pitches to Brian Pena, they were all over the place. Is there something really bothering this kid?
Looks like he's coming out of this game. Well, you certainly hope and pray he's all right. He doesn't appear to be limping, so you start there. And again, it's all speculation up here at this point. We have no idea what it might be.
No.
But there didn't appear to be any limp, so you look like you can rule out a hamstring or a groin, perhaps, something along those lines.
And it didn't look as though something happened on one pitch.
Taylor Jordan, a right-hander, will come on, and he'll have as much time as he needs. Now, this was a couple of pitches ago.
You could see the look down, and I know that he's had some issues with the upper back and being out of line and kind of grinding, as he explained it, against the shoulder blade, and not feeling really good. So maybe that's something that's going on here now.
Well, if we receive any word from the Nationals clubhouse, we will certainly pass it along. This will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. And when you come in following an injury, the new pitcher can take all the time he feels necessary before we restart this game. So we'll take a timeout and be back with more from Great American Ballpark. Leadoff walk. Reds lead 1-0. We're in the second inning. part of our Super Saturdays the entire year. Tomorrow, the first 25,000 fans in attendance will receive a Billy Hamilton bobblehead presented by Cincinnati Bell. 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations, or for tickets log on to Reds.com/tickets. Jordan Taylor, 26-year-old, was the Nationals minor league pitcher of the year in 2013. He made their opening day roster for the first time last year and was in their rotation. But he went 0-3 with an ERA of over 5.5, back to the minor leagues. And then at the end of July, injured his right elbow. They shut him down for the year.
He's got a very unorthodox delivery. Brings the ball down very short of the hip. And then almost a very different type of rotation with the shoulder as he gets the ball up into the power position. Almost as if he's holding a pie in his hand and then throwing it to the plate. But his main pitch is the sinking fastball.
Well, it doesn't take him very long to get loosened up.
Now, this is the tough part about coming out of the bullpen when you're taking over for someone that's injured. Your adrenaline hits you right away, and all of a sudden you feel the blood flow, you feel ready, but your arm's not quite there yet. Let's hope the Reds can capitalize on that here.
And you've talked about it before. You know, you got 30,000 people sitting here waiting on you, and you know that, right?
Oh, yeah. And when you're young, you fall victim to it a lot.
All right, Pena draws a walk. Strasburg has to leave the game after ball 4. And now it is Marlon Byrd. Sinking liner caught by Span. Well, that was a tough play. That was like a knuckleball.
Yeah, you see a center fielder, especially a veteran like Denard Span, break left, then right, and then come in. You know that ball has something going on.
Skip Schumacher, the hero on Tuesday night when he came off the bench and dropped that base hit in a 2-1 win over Colorado. He's down, strike 1. Schumacher 6 doubles, 4 runs batted in. Reds were hoping that Brandon Phillips would be ready to go tonight. Brandon did not play Tuesday. They gave him Wednesday off, knowing that they had yesterday entirely off and felt like 3 straight days he'd be ready to go. No one is closer to Brandon downstairs. I'm not even sure his teammates are any closer to him than is our Jim Day. Jim, what's the latest with Brandon Phillips?
Well, he came in on the off day yesterday and got treatment, and it's one of those things where it's kind of a catch-22 for the Reds as Schumacher puts one into right field for a hit. That they're trying to get him over the hump where it's not a chronic situation all year long, and they feel like one more day, the classic one more day, is going to get him to that point. Now, I don't know if he's going to get to that point by tomorrow or not. I know that he is much better over these last couple of days, but again, we're talking about a turf toe. I'm not sure even one extra day is going to get him past that chronic situation where it's going to bother him the rest of the year. It might take longer than that, so it's going to be truly a day-to-day situation.
Well, Jim, I know you'll be all over that and so much more, so thank you for that update.
Turf toe can be just so chronic, and it's so difficult to get rid of. You can have all the treatment in the world, you come back, you feel totally fine, and one wrong pivot with that big toe and you're right back at square one.
DeSclafani has to duck out of the way. He was squared around a bunt and almost hit him in the chest. So now he doesn't have the bunt. Runners are at second and third after the wild pitch with only 1 out.
Check this ball out. I'm squaring around. I'm looking to bunt. That's Wilder and a March Hare right there.
DeSclafani has 1 run batted in this season. The Nationals bring their infield in second and third with 1 out. continue the runner at third base. Schumacher with a base hit, now in scoring position at second. 2-0. And he takes a strike. Well, that is somewhat of a surprise. Granted, even with a pitcher up at 2-0, you know that other guy's got to throw one right down Broadway.
Yeah, but after that ball up around my neck, I might have to shake myself a little bit.
Broken bat liner for the second out of the inning. One final from earlier today. The Cubs slowed down. But of course, the team that beat them is not slowing down in any way, shape, or form. That would be the Kansas City Royals. 2 games was more than enough. Watching that club against the Reds last week. They are now 29-18. They beat Chicago today 8-4.
Well, you talk about a club playing with some energy now. Whew.
All right, Billy Hamilton batting in that number 9 spot now. Second and third, 2 away in the inning. And a 2-hopper to second. The inning is over. The Reds strand a pair. We played a pair. And the Reds lead 1-0. In just 8 days, the Women's World Cup begins. Alex Morgan leads the outstanding U.S. Women's National Team against the very best teams in the world in search of their 3rd World Cup title. It all gets started on Fox and Fox Sports 1 beginning June the 6th. That is one sport where the Americans are just sensational, and there are many of them, but in international competition, especially that sport of soccer, the women's game in the United States is second to none. They'll try and bring home the goods. Of course, one of the great players for many years. I think she was on 3 World Cup teams. Cincinnati native Heather Mitts. This will be the first year she is not on the World Cup team in quite some time. Taylor Jordan will bat, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Cowboy.
No, I just said they're tough.
They're tough. They are really tough.
Play that sport. That's a tough one.
That was really exciting a couple of years ago. The men in the World Cup. Remember that last game they had? And the goalie was just spectacular for the United States. There's a bouncing ball fielded by Schumacher. And picked cleanly out of there at first by Votto. Nicely done on both ends.
Sinking fastball in, but Schumacher going way behind second base. Good play on both sides.
Now we roll back over to the top of the order. The center fielder Denard Span. He bounced out to the second baseman Schumacher, leading off the game. Reds lead 1-0 on a Joey Votto first inning opposite field solo home run.
All right, let's go back to that soccer for a minute.
Yes, sir.
The women's soccer.
Yes.
Had a new viewpoint of women's soccer when I saw a video, and this has been about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a high school game. Gals playing back in the back, and they're going at each other over and over and over. I'm thinking, you know, you think of girls and nice and dainty and just play the sport. Oh no, these girls were going at it.
Oh yeah.
And this gal reached up and grabbed the back of her ponytail and jerked her right to the ground, and I thought, oh my goodness, they're tougher than the boys.
I remember that game.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. And it was on after that.
Two and one on Span. Votto. The feed to the covering DeSclafani, 2 away. Anthony very sharp early on here tonight. Ran into a little first inning trouble. An infield hit by Desmond, a single into left center by Escobar sent Desmond on to third, but he got the big strikeout of Bryce Harper looking and put away Zimmerman on a fly ball to right.
I think the big key, what we're seeing from DeSclafani right now, is he's staying right at the bottom of the strike zone with movement. He's getting the Nationals to beat the ball into the ground weakly, letting his defense take care of it.
Now he and Desmond. His hit was a bouncer almost identical to the play that Schumacher was able to make to begin this inning on the ball hit by Taylor Jordan. So Desmond was able to leg it out for an infield hit.
I can't believe he's just taken 2 balls in a row that were close. He's got to be swinging here no matter what.
Well, he started to. Did he go around? Yes, he did on the appeal.
This guy's up there to swing the bat now.
Oh, he sure is now. He strikes out last couple of years, 145 times 2 years ago, 183 strikeouts last year. Having said all that, his on-base percentage may not have been much. A little over 31% of the time he's getting on, but he had 24 bombs. He knocked in 91 runs for a middle infield. Little number that time. And DeSclafani's retired 8 in a row since a single by Escobar. Middle of the third, Reds lead 1-0. Prodzik from Hamilton will win that new Tundra, and you can register. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Beautiful night for a wedding. For springtime, late spring, early summer. There you have it.
I'd rather be fishing. I'd rather be fishing.
Terrific day look. So there's the wedding party. And just a few short yards away, the wedding crasher.
He's got him one online. That's what I'm talking about. Bring it in, son.
How about that? As soon as we take the shot, he's reeling one in. Congratulations, young man. Forget about the wedding. Just keep throwing out that line.
He may have a big piece of wood. May not be the fish he was looking for.
You better hope for that guy. That's a bride he was looking for. Well, we had quite a night down here last night. I got to tell you, it has become one of the most fun events I have ever had the privilege of attending in my life. It's the second year we've done it. It's a night of their own, exclusively for women, Baseball 101. We held it down here at the ballpark last night. Line drive center field. That'll be a base hit for Kozar to begin the Reds' third inning, leading 1-0. It's sold out, with all of the proceeds going to the Reds Community Fund. We had 600 women here at the ballpark last night. I mean, ages 19 to 80. And they have a beautiful dinner over in the Fox Sports Ohio Club, running down to the handlebar, open bar. There are different stations. Brian Price was here, his entire coaching staff. The ladies will go. They're broken up into groups. They take ground balls. They take batting practice. They take fly balls. They come up for a Q&A. Oh, yeah, they do all the BP and the fielding grounders and pop flies and all that kind of thing. They came upstairs for a Q&A with Brian Price. Came down to the press box for a Q&A with my dad and me. And, boy, it was so much fun. They really have a great time, and they make it fun for everybody who's there. So, ladies, last night, here's to you. You know, the Reds ought to do one of those things. And one of the women brought it up. She said, you know what? We paid $100, $150, whatever it was, to come here tonight. She said our husbands would spend $500 to do this.
Exactly.
Otto pulls it. Espinosa couldn't find the handle, so his only out will be at first base. So advancing into scoring position is Kozar, one away in the inning.
I want you to watch something.
Sure.
Watch Ramos. He gives the sign to the kid on the mound. He's got his right hand tapping into his mitt. When do you give the target? He's just sitting there. You say, that's not good enough for me. You got to give me a target. That's what I'm doing on the mound. I'm trying to hit the glove. If you've got the glove up by your chest protector, well, that's where I'm going to throw it. I don't like that. If my catcher was doing that, we'd have a little conversation. It might be animated. I mean, he's just playing around with the mitt. Now, there may be some pitchers that like that, but I ain't one of them. And I know a lot that don't like it at all.
Espinosa down on one knee just to make sure on the ground out by Frazier. So Kozar started the inning with a single. He's advanced all the way to third on a pair of ground outs. And the Reds are looking for a 2-out knock from Jay Bruce. Now, are you surprised that, and we don't know, you know, Matt Williams, now he was not a pitcher. Obviously, he was one of the great sluggers of his time.
Yes, he was. Former teammate of mine.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I'm sure that you're not the first guy in the world that perhaps ever, you know, opened Pandora's box on this topic, so to speak.
I would think not. Now there's a target.
Well, what a player Matt Williams was.
The big Marine.
Man.
And he lived up to the name.
Tough, fiery, passionate. Came up originally with the Giants. That's when he was your teammate. People forget he spent one season in Cleveland. And the Indians went all the way to the World Series that year. He had a great year, his only year with the Tribe. And then he asked to go back home, where he and his wife were going through a divorce. His children were living in Arizona. They got the expansion team, the Diamondbacks. And, you know, could he find a way to go back and play in the city where he called home? And he did. And that's where he would finish his career. He won a World Series with the Diamondbacks there in 2001.
Matt was never a big rah-rah guy standing in the dugout. But if there was a message to be sent to an individual player or a group of players, you got that message.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't need a second time.
I remember the Diamondbacks, the year they won the World Series, they had this big young slugger came up named Rubiel Durazo. He proved to be one of the big heroes for them in the World Series. And during the course of that season, Durazo was going through a stretch, not quite Bryce Harper-esque, but I mean just an unconscious stretch. And Durazo, a left-handed batter, big powerful guy, hit a ball that as soon as it left the bat, it was going into the upper deck somewhere. Stood there and watched it, jogged around the bases. He had no sooner hit the top step of that dugout, and Matt Williams grabbed him by the arm and said, "Young man, we don't do that here. I better not see it again." Hooked down the right field line and foul. Williams used to hit him, and he hit nearly, what, 400 of them in his career. He used to hit him and run around the bases like our old buddy Adam Rosales used to.
Yeah, he was motor. Williams would give you that old E.F. Hutton message. When he talks, you listen. That is, if you want to keep your neck intact.
Strong man. He, like Bryce Harper, hails from the state of Nevada, although he grew up out of the sticks of Nevada, if you will. So it'll be the 10th pitch in this at bat coming up to Jay Bruce. It's 3 balls and 2 strikes. See what Jay's done the last 10 days. Really swinging a good bat. And he draws a walk to keep the inning alive for Brian Pena. We invite you to enter now for a chance to win a trip to the Major League Baseball All-Star Game right here in Cincinnati. That'll be on Fox for you and 3 others. Upload 2 photos and you only have a handful of days left till June the 3rd at foxsports.com/fantastic all-star, all one word. On the corners, 2 away for Pena. Strike 1.
Just can't get over the space that Pena has between top and bottom hand. You know how difficult it is to hit with your hands spread apart like that? And you can see yellow of the tape in between the two hands.
To the shortstop, they'll give the force out, which ends the inning. The Reds for the second straight inning strand 2. They lead 1-0 at the end of 3.
For the Reds and Anthony DeSclafani, he has kept the ball on the ground. 6 of his 9 outs have been via the ground ball. Left-handed batters normally give him a little trouble. Not so far here tonight. He gets this one right in on the hands of Desmond on a 3-1 count. You keep rolling ground balls like that, you may roll yourself right on into a win.
Well, he's very much in the driver's seat. How's he getting them out? It's brought to you by Kia. 6 ground ball outs, 2 fly ball outs, and arguably the biggest single out was the only strikeout. That was with runners at first and third and 1 out in the Washington first inning when he struck out Bryce Harper looking. So here we go. Heart of the order. 3, 4, and 5 for Washington in the 4th. Escobar hit the ball very hard his first time up, and he has a second hit in the game. Well, you look historically at some of the numbers for Bryce Harper. He's our T-Mobile game changer. What a month. Most home runs in a single month by a player 22 years or younger. Jolton Joe DiMaggio, Bob Horner, the only 2 players with more home runs in a single month than the 13 Harper has hit so far here in May.
Counting today, he has 3 more days.
Of course, the Reds are planning on him staying at 13 when we turn the calendar.
Amen, brother. You know, so many times today, Tom, you see hitters with batting gloves on both hands using rosin or the stickum over in the on-deck circle. No batting gloves, straight dirt for this kid.
Hey, those guys are so few and far between. I'm sure there's probably been somebody in the American League, but in the National League, the last guy I remember that did that regularly who was a really good hitter was Mark Grace.
Mark Grace. I was just fixing to say that. And you wonder the beating that their hands take, but after a while your hands callous over in the spots that occupy the bat.
High one hopper. This should be 2. It is. How about that? A strikeout and a double play.
Another ground ball, and this time it makes for a double play ground ball, and it comes from the toughest hitter in this lineup. He hit right on the top of that ball, and the Reds turn it over with expertise.
Why not pump that fist? Takes care of 2 for 1 on the double play ball by Harper, and here comes Ryan Zimmerman. Joe Luckham, our statistician, reminds me of another player who never wore batting gloves, and he was a mighty fine hitter as well in recent years. Moises Alou.
Yes, that's right.
Zimmerman, a ground ball to short, and DeSclafani so good so far tonight. He leads 1-0 after 3.5.
I'm Jim Day. I am high above the moon deck. Now take a look at this clearing behind me because it is not going to last very long. The Reds are indeed adding even more to Great American Ballpark. There's about 7,500 seats in this stadium that have obstructed views to the big scoreboard in left field. Well, the Reds are going to replace that or fix that because a brand new scoreboard is going up above the moon deck here in right field. It'll be 90 by 30. Which means it'll span from home plate to first base. It'll allow fans with those obstructed views to have the experience that all the fans have here, and that is seeing all the video replays and all the fun they have on it. Procter & Gamble is helping out financially, and guys, it will be installed in time for the All-Star game.
It's been an amazing partnership. Of course, Procter & Gamble is one of the truly remarkable companies all over the world. You'd be hard pressed to find somewhere in your house something Procter & Gamble doesn't make. And of course they have called Cincinnati their home since the start of the company, but they have partnered with the Reds not only on this scoreboard, but of course the Cincinnati Major League Baseball Urban Youth Academy was sponsored by Procter & Gamble and opened last summer over in Roselawn, which is just an incredible venue. Gone swinging is Marlon Byrd to begin the Reds' 4th inning. I mean, think about all the people around here that between now and really July the 8th or the 9th, because starting on the 10th, you know, you've got everybody rolling into town. You have the home run derby the day before the All-Star game. 2 days on that Sunday before the All-Star game. You have the Futures game, softball game. And out there between now, which is virtually the beginning of June, and not even to the middle of July,
there'll be a scoreboard there.
Big, huge replay board.
But it shows you where we are in technological advances, that you can put together the squares that occupy the scoreboard facade and the face of it and computerize it in a way that it looks like one monstrous scoreboard.
And you know, everybody, it's such a subjective thing. You know, you can go to one ballpark and say, boy, I loved it, and I can go to the same place and say, I'm not crazy about it, vice versa. And you can do that in every ballpark in baseball. So it's not a matter of saying Great American Ballpark is the best fill in the blank. But I think it is safe to say, Cowboy, we are fortunate enough to travel to all the other ballparks in the league. No franchise has done more in terms of improving its ballpark year after year after year than the Reds franchise has done here in Great American Ballpark. When you think back to when this place opened, and all you had was that black batter's eye back there in center field. Look what that is now. The CBTS pilot house that looks like one of the boats from days gone by. The power stacks out in right center. The bars that have been put in.
Down there, the handlebar, yep, and all of the storefronts that you come along in that level. I got a chance to walk through there. It's amazing.
It really is truly amazing.
And I think the thing that the Reds are trying to do is create the best fan experience, because people come from hundreds of miles around, and they may only be here for 3 days. They may only be here for 1 day. Well, this is a lifetime experience, and they're trying to make it the best possible experience that they can.
They put that bar in, you may remember, a year ago. There's going to be a brand new group seating area just above the Reds bullpen. We haven't talked about that at all. I mean, that's already under construction, as DeSclafani shoots one into right field at him. You know, we talked about the machine room, and they redid it a couple of years ago, and they didn't like it because it was enclosed. They blew the whole thing up, did it over again to open up the doors. And
they got pool tables down there.
Sure. I mean, it's really extraordinary. If you walk around this ballpark, what a great place to come to a ball game this is.
How many ballparks can you go and shoot pool?
I don't know.
I kind of like that.
I think a lot of people from around the country, especially the media coming in from not only cities all over America, but internationally for the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, between what's happened in this ballpark and what is happening in this city in downtown, whether you're up on Vine, Mount Adams has always been a rock-solid mainstay, along the banks. Everything that's happening, I think a lot of people who maybe haven't been here a lot, it's going to be an eye-opening experience. Denard Span will run down the short pop fly by Hamilton. And the Reds are gone in the fourth. Reds lead 1-0. We're off to inning number 5. Willard Ford go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. Beautiful night in downtown Cincinnati. And why not watch every out-of-market game right live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices? You can do so with MLB.TV Premium. Visit MLB.TV for details. 6, 7, 8 in the Nationals batting order. Reds with a 1-0 lead on a Joey Votto solo home run in the first inning. If you're just tuning in, Steven Strasburg, the Washington Nationals starter, allowed the home run, a couple of base hits in the first inning. He walked Brian Pena to lead off the second inning and had to leave the game. We still have not received any word on the injury which forced Strasburg to leave the game from the Nationals clubhouse.
Judging by his upper body movement, you almost think that it's a recurrence of that thoracic vertebrae issue that he had earlier that was causing not really spasms but just almost a grinding effect in the shoulder blade and shoulder area as he threw the baseball.
Wilson Ramos bounced out to Todd Frazier, his first time up. 1-2 pitch swung on and fouled back to the screen. Ramos has really cooled off. He had a 19-game hitting streak through the 3rd week of April till about 10-11 days ago, and ever since that hitting streak, during which he hit nearly 370, has slowed down tremendously. 1 hit in his last 11 bats spanning this current road trip, which began for the Nationals in a very exciting series they just completed on Wednesday against the Cubs at Wrigley Field. That was a good series. Hooked into left center, and that will go to the wall. So on a 2-2 pitch, a leadoff double by Ramos, and he is the tying run here in the Washington 5th.
Looked like a hanging breaking ball there from DeSclafani, and almost a one-handed swing. Breaking ball got too much of the plate. You can see it just spinning as it comes. One-handed liftoff from Ramos.
So now Espinosa, he bounced out to Votto, his first time up.
A 130 hitter with runners in scoring position, Espinosa.
So you look at his picture up on the scoreboard, and then you look at his face in the batter's box. You never believe it's the same guy.
On the scoreboard, it looks like he belongs over on that All-Star game side.
You're right. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Put a stovepipe hat on him, he could be Mr. Athletic.
Those are the numbers Cowboy referred to a moment ago. Hitting with runners in scoring position. Runner at second, nobody out. Reds in front, 1-0. Popped up. This will not get the job done. Will not advance the runner. Reds will take that, 1 out in the inning.
Well, the one time a ground ball would advance the runner to third base, DeSclafani gets a pop up. And as you said, Ramos has to stay right where he's at.
Now Michael Taylor, the left fielder. Started 2 and took ball 1 away. Taylor fouled out. Chuvado ending the 2nd inning.
I would think Matt Williams, the manager of the Nationals, has to feel pretty good that they're only trailing 1-0, and he had to pull Strasburg and bring in a kid that has not pitched much, if any at all, this year.
Now all of a sudden DeSclafani, who has not walked a batter all night long, has fallen behind the number 8 hitter. 3 balls and no strikes. No activity in the Nationals bullpen. We're only in the 5th inning. And here comes a 3-0 on Michael Taylor. And there's a strike. It's a big pitch coming up here. Taylor's looking for something that he can hit, and hit hard, to tie this game, knowing the pitcher stands in the on-deck circle. Ball 4. Well, coming up tonight, and after every Reds game here on Fox Sports Ohio, please stick around for Reds Live. It's brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. We'll break it all down for you. It'll be coming your way following the game tonight. First walk in the game by DeSclafani, and here comes Jordan. The Reds believe he will be asked to try and put down a successful sacrifice.
If you're DeSclafani here, you want to throw a 4-seam fastball right about the letters at his hands. Try to see if you can get him to bunt the ball right back at you with a chance for a double play. He bunts it hard back to the pitcher, you got a chance for a double play.
Well, now Pena says hang on a minute. He walked Taylor on 5 pitches, a prior batter, and the pitcher trying to give himself up, and has taken 2 pitches well out of the strike zone.
Yeah, both of those pitchers were up and in, and Jordan did a good job of pulling the bat away. Now you got to make him bunt it.
He bunts it, but foul. 2 balls and a strike.
Looked like Jordan tried to stab at that one. If you're DeSclafani, you had to pick up on that.
Bunts that one in the air, out of play. So the count even now at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
When you get a pitcher at the plate that's stabbing at the ball to bunt, you fire that baby in there, middle away, and let him stab at it one more time.
How much do relief pitchers get a chance to actually take batting practice to work on their bunting?
Well, they get the chance, but how many of them take it seriously? That's the difference.
That one is punted. He has to pick it up, and safe as a call. Frazier waited momentarily, thinking that ball might spin foul, and realized too late that it wasn't going to go foul. It was going to die in the grass, and the throw was too late.
Not a great bunt, but a great result for the Nationals.
These last two batters have been killers for DeSclafani. You had a leadoff double, you got an out, and you've got 8 and 9 coming up in the batting order. And the Nationals have gone walk, bunt, hit to load him up for their leadoff man now, Denard Span. Strike one.
This is where rough things happen. The bottom of the order figures out some way to get on, and then you roll it back over to the top of the order to some of your better hitters. Now you really got to grind it out if you're DeSclafani, because this guy is not an easy one to double up.
Votto's got to come home here. Throws, they get the out.
Nice job. Really nice job there by Votto. The backhand play, using his momentum, coming to the plate. Didn't try to hurry the throw, just put a strike right into the mitt of Brian Pena. See a lot of times where an infielder really has to try to hurry his throw. You're throwing on the run regardless, trying to get the man at the plate. A lot of times you'll see that throw skewed left or right, but that baby was right on the money.
And he had a double pump there. Looked like he had a hard time finding the handle. He still made a perfect throw. One more big out to go for the Reds rookie right-hander. And there's strike one at 95 miles per hour on the inside corner. Strike one on Ian Desmond, who has an infield hit and then hit the ball sharply on a ball knocked down by DeSclafani, who threw him out, ending the third inning.
And this fellow wants to swing in the worst way.
Trouble here, and an infield dribbler ties the game at 1.
Well, that is 2 balls off of DeSclafani that didn't go a total of 90 feet, and they end up both hits, and it allows a run to score. I mean, you could have kicked that ball out there that hard.
So Desmond given credit for just his 15th run batted in on the season. And here's Escobar, who's had the 2 best at bats of the game against DeSclafani, both of them base hits. And a high one hopper. Frazier will play to first, inning over. So they get a couple of infield hits, but one of them a bunt single by the pitcher and a big out to Taylor allows Washington to tie the game. Nationals presented by KOI Auto Parts. We have the big Billy Hamilton bobblehead giveaway to the first 25,000 tomorrow. The kids team card set giveaway on Sunday. Tickets are available. Call 513-381-REDS. We'd love to have you at the ballpark as early as mañana. 1-1 game. Nationals take advantage of a double, a walk, a bunt hit, an infield single, which ties the game. Reds have stranded 5 in the last 3 innings, all against reliever Taylor Jordan, who took over for an injured Steven Strasburg, one batter into the second inning. Reds have a top of the order. Cozart, Votto, Frazier. Zach is fly to center, singled to center. It's a big time series. It begins tonight at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Division leaders, the Los Angeles Dodgers, taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals scored a run in the bottom of the first inning. John Lackey on the mound for St. Louis tonight. Although that Dodger lead is tenuous at best, the Giants red hot, only a half game behind Los Angeles. That ball is killed but foul.
It would really give DeSclafani some serious peace of mind if the Reds were able to at least get 1 run back here, especially with the top of the order coming to the plate.
Tell you the team it has to be the single biggest surprise in all of baseball, good, bad, or indifferent, the Minnesota Twins. They have won 5 games in a row, and they go into play tonight tied with the Kansas City Royals in front of the Tigers, sitting atop the American League Central Division. 1-2 on Cozart.
Well, a new manager in Molitor, and they signed a Minnesota Twin at heart in Torrey Hunter, who is an emotional leader. And I think that's got them playing in the right direction. They may be playing above their heads, but they're playing with some passion.
Good way to get it started for Cozart and the Reds. His second hit of the game. There was another guy. You bring up that name. You talk about another guy that could really hit. Was Molitor.
Oh. He was one of those guys that if you threw the ball down and away, you better duck, because it was coming right back at your skull, and a lot harder than you threw it. Of course, the third baseman didn't want you to throw him in. He didn't want to get hurt.
Joey Votto homered in the first inning. He bounced out to Espinosa in the third. Here's a home run ball in the first. That was a pitch in.
Inside out swing, but the ball was elevated a bit. It allowed Votto just to drive it the other way. That's a great piece of hitting.
Taking 2-0, a fastball in the outside corner, 2 balls and a strike to Joey. You know, one area where Votto, we told you, he hit his first home run of the month, his first at bat in the game tonight. his on-base percentage is way down from where we're used to seeing Votto. You know, he had the great month of April batting primarily in the number 2 hole. Drew a lot of walks. He does not rank in the top 15 in the league right now in on-base percentage, and generally he's a guy that's top 3 every year. It may end up there. Straightaway center field. Span at the base of the wall will get it. And Cozart alertly tags up, and he will go to second base.
I thought he'd gotten that one when it came off the bat. Just didn't quite have the carry. Got it right off the end of the bat. Well, a little bit more extension, he'd have made it. Cozart, as you said, Tom, very alert. He knew that ball was hit well. You can tag there because if the ball's over the fence, you can walk around the bases.
And the best you're going to do if it stays in the park is third base anyway.
Right.
Because you have to wait to see if he's going to catch it.
He's going to make that regardless.
All right, now Frazier, he is single to left and grounded out to second base. Todd with a chance to break this 1-1 tie. Nationals even things up in the top of this 5th inning. Reds try to answer in the bottom half. Third baseman in foul ground, Escobar, for the second out. You know, we were looking up runners in scoring position, and you know, so much was made when we were in Kansas City about their gaudy numbers and leading the major leagues in that category. Now these Nationals, you know, are right around 265 overall with runners in scoring position. But you say to yourself, you know, compared to where the Reds are, when you really break down the numbers, I mean, it is just staggering, even for a team hitting around 265. And keep it simple here. 391 at bats with runners in scoring position for the Nationals, 338 at bats for the Reds. So they've had roughly 50 plus more. But in those 50 additional at bats, as this ball is driven into deep center, and this will end the inning, which the Reds missed twice there with runners in scoring position, the Nationals have scored almost 50 more runs. That's over a run per game. 1-1 into 5. 3-1 ball game. We go to the 6th inning. You know, earlier in the game, as you know, here at Great American Ballpark, if you've been here before, the Reds for years and years and years in the top half of the 2nd inning will always recognize a serviceman, servicewoman in one of the branches of the armed forces. And tonight, we had an amazing moment. Nathan Dennison, if that last name sounds familiar, he is the father of 700 WLW's on-air personality Bill Segman Dennison. First pitch swinging is Harper, and he is out for the 3rd time tonight. Strikeout, double play, line out. 0 for 3 for Bryce Harper. But Nathan Dennison, who's made his home for many years in the White Oak, Montford Heights area, was there at Pearl Harbor when the Japanese struck Pearl Harbor, sinking, of course, the Arizona.
And that was his ship.
And he was off the ship at the very moment of the invasion. This ball is blistered into right center field. Jay Bruce, a diving attempt. Hamilton behind him, juggles slightly. It's a double all the way for Ryan Zimmerman in this 1-1 game in the 6th inning. But we salute Nathan Dennison. Very special moment during our game here tonight.
Well, Jay Bruce almost comes up with that ball. Even if Hamilton grabs it cleanly, he's got no shot at Zimmerman coming into second base.
All right, so now Ramos, he led off the 5th inning with a double. Wound up being forced out of the plate. But the Nationals got an infield single with 2 outs by Ian Desmond to tie the game. And the Nationals get the base hit by Ramos. They will wave around the runner. Here comes a throw to the plate by Billy Hamilton, and he's called safe. Wow. Boy, it looked like Pena had the tag, and I'm sure Brian Price is going to check with Rob Coughlin, the Reds video director. That was very, very close.
Gets his hand in there. That was a great slide by Zimmerman. The initial lunge by Pena didn't quite get there. The throw just off to the third base side enough where Pena had to go get it, change his momentum, and come back, and he just couldn't quite get there in time.
So that's a correct call made by Jerry Meals, a home plate umpire. No challenge offered by Brian Price. A double by Zimmerman. He scores on a single by Ramos, and the Nationals have their first lead of the night. And still work to do in this 6th inning for Mr. DeSclafani. Espinosa 0 for 2. And now 0 for 3. Well, tonight, longtime Reds fans from Springdale Township rode in on the Fan Express to Great American Ballpark. Reservations for the Fan Express are going quickly. If you're interested for your group coming down in style, 513-765-7600. That baby is sweet. Michael Taylor this time will be intentionally walked. That still might be the single biggest batter in that Washington scoring inning in the 5th. Was the 1-out walk to the number 8 hitter.
And he threw him a 3-2 breaking ball.
Taylor had walked only 6 times this entire season. He has been walked twice in consecutive innings tonight. Jordan has done a masterful job pitching in relief of Steven Strasburg. He's gone 4 innings. He's allowed 4 hits. And twice has had to pitch out of 2 on jams.
How many relievers come into a ball game and get 3 at bats? That never happens.
No.
Unless it's a 20-inning game. I didn't get 3 at bats when I was starting. Of course, I couldn't get past the 5th. So.
But you tried.
I did try.
In the air, right field, Jay Bruce waits, and that will do it. But the Nationals break the tie and lead midway through the 6th inning, 2-1.
I'm Jim Day. Devin Mesoraco on the injury front. They say he's going to see one more hip specialist before they make the ultimate decision of whether or not he will have season-ending surgery. As the guys told you earlier, Johnny Cueto still has inflammation in the elbow. He was slated to pitch on Sunday. Brian Price before the game said more likely you're going to see him against the Phillies in Philadelphia, which means the Reds will run out 3 rookie starters in this series. Anthony DeSclafani going right now. Raisel Iglesias will go tomorrow, and barring anything unforeseen, it will be Michael Lorenzen on Sunday. It's the first time since 2010 that the Reds rookies have started 3 consecutive games. Brian Price said that he expects all 3 of these gentlemen to be in the Reds rotation in the future. The only thing is, the future came a little quicker than it would normally. The future is now for these rookies.
Tell you what, though, it is exciting. You don't like seeing it at the expense of your #1 guy and Johnny Cueto, but man, you know, where the wins have been few and far between here lately, it is really exciting to see what the Reds have in these young pitchers. They've got good ones. Pena first pitch swinging, and that's the first pitch out.
Yeah, I like the fact that some of these kids are getting some experience right now. Granted, the Reds are not playing very well, but there are going to be mistakes made when you're a young pitcher. You'd rather have it in a year when things are not going well. That way you can kind of learn, make your way a little bit. I mean, that's really how the Reds formed that rotation when they had Leake and Cueto. They had Homer Bailey. They had Travis Wood at the time, who ultimately ended up, they traded to Chicago. No substitute for experience.
One down for Marlon Byrd. 1 ball and 1 strike. Now Taylor Jordan's a big man now. I mean, he's 6'5". Strong. Cowboy mentioned earlier, sinking fastball. You know, they put him back in the rotation. He's always been a starter, as we mentioned earlier, throughout his entire professional career. And he was in their rotation when the year began last year. Did not start well for him. They sent him down, and then his season came to an abrupt end with an injured elbow. But in 7 AAA starts this year, his ERA was barely over 2, and in the month of May, now here he is just being brought back up recently. He made 4 starts this month in the minor leagues, averaged 7 innings per start, and had an ERA of 1.5. So he's got more than enough in the tank as far as his arm strength and conditioning to handle what kind of relief appearance he's making right now. There's ball 4 to Marlon Byrd. That is the second walk issued by Jordan since coming into the game. 1 batter into the 2nd inning, and here we are 2 batters into the 6th, and he's not allowed a single run. Matt Williams looking over his lineup card. Steve McCatty is his pitching coach. And here's Schumacher. That ball stung into right field and over the head of Harper and up against the wall. On his way to third, Bird. They'll hold him there on a double by Skip Schumacher.
That ball was tattooed on a line. Harper got a great jump on the ball, but even he could not get to it. .88 miles an hour right in the Schumacher wheelhouse.
And remember now, we're in the A spot in the batting order, but right now that is the pitcher spot. So DeSclafani is summoned back to the dugout from the on-deck circle. And look who's coming out. Jim Dave, did he say anything to you while making his way up to the plate?
He did not say anything to me, although when I came back into the camera well, he said, dude, I'm bored. No one is more bored when he's not playing than Brandon Phillips.
Well, when your team is having a difficult time putting runs on the board, you have to take these opportunities when you can get them. I'm sure Brian Price would like for DeSclafani to go back out for another inning. He's thrown the ball very well. But you got runners at second and third. You got to cash it in now.
You'd rather see the young man get a win. And if Brandon can knock in a couple and you get the final 2 outs, DeSclafani would be in line for a win. Brandon, a fly ball into left. Taylor throws to the plate, and collision in the plate. Safe as Marlon Byrd. Boy, that was quite a throw there by Taylor.
Oh, good.
And hopefully Bird's all right in that collision with Wilson Ramos. 2-2 game.
Taylor did everything exactly correct. If he had had one more foot on that throw, Marlon Byrd is out. That short hop cost Ramos. He couldn't quite snag it with that mitt. Wow, that slammed the head of Marlon Byrd straight into the ground.
Here comes the aforementioned Steve McCatty, the Washington Nationals pitching coach under manager Matt Williams. So now the Reds are looking for a 2-out base hit to break this tie from Billy Hamilton. They have Aaron Barrett ready in the bullpen to the Nationals, and they're going to stay with Taylor Jordan. 0-1 to Billy. Schumacher, the runner in second, carries a go-ahead run, and now it's 0-2. They're coming right after Hamilton with fastballs. Two to Billy Hamilton. And we'll do it again.
Every pitch that Jordan has thrown to Hamilton in this at bat has been a fastball that started in off the plate, running back to the inside corner.
Little flare, it is going to fall. And the Reds had the lead on a base hit by Hamilton. How about that for a big two-out hit?
Well, when the Reds were mired in that losing streak, that's a ball that the second baseman catches. But here tonight, it's a base hit, and it puts the Reds on top. And as you mentioned earlier, puts DeSclafani in a pretty good spot.
So Matt Williams will come get Taylor Jordan, who shut out the Reds over 4 innings until this 6th. With 1 out, a walk to Marlon Byrd, a double by Schumacher, sac fly by Phillips ties it. 2-out run scoring single by Hamilton gives the Reds the lead. And Aaron Barrett will come on from the bullpen, and we'll take a timeout. Reds lead here in the 6th, 3-2.
Presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds, it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
3-2 Reds lead. They've come up with a pair here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Aaron Barrett takes over on the mound. Zach Cozart is 2 out of 3 tonight. Hamilton running, and a throw down to second base, no chance. Billy picking up his 19th stolen base of the year.
It's kind of crazy that Cozart is the one to face Aaron Barrett, as you see a big jump there by Billy Hamilton. That's all Mississippi action right there. Hamilton there, Cozart, Ole Miss. the man on the mound, Ole Miss.
So then they all should get along.
They can get along real fine if Cozart rips one down the left field line. This kid Barrett's got a big, hard fastball with a sharp breaking ball. And it really doesn't matter when you played at the school. You know the other guy was there.
Sure. Sure.
And when you go back for the alumni game, you know who got the hit or the strikeout.
1-1 to Kozai. And it's rolled over foul. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Now, do you have an alumni game at Mississippi State?
Dude, every couple of years.
I mean, you pitch to guys like Will Clark, Rafael Palmeiro, and
dude, I can't even roll it up there. I've had enough surgeries. I'm not even going to try it. But I clap a lot.
Attaboy. And there's a liner into center field, a base hit. Hamilton will easily score. How about this? Little clutch hitting tonight for the Redlegs.
3rd hit in a row for Cozart, and he hit that baby a frozen rope. By the time Denard Span got that baseball, he could have put it in his pocket.
I mean, by the time he touches it, Hamilton's 2 steps around 3rd. Good night for Zach. He had been in a little bit of a funk. Of course, he wasn't alone. But after a fly ball to center his first time up tonight, 3 straight hits for Zach Kozai. Now Joey Votto. It's been an explosion for the Reds here in the 6th inning. They've come up with 3 runs. Strike 1 to Joey Votto. Take a look at this. Real speed.
Pull the parachute. Pull the parachute. Pull it. Pull it.
No.
Well, he's going right down the steps.
His teammates don't even have time to get up and clap.
You got to pull the parachute there. Slow that thing down.
Pretty good breaking ball right there. Well, last check, it was Jumbo Diaz getting loose in the Reds bullpen. Now, he was up before the inning ever began. The Reds, Brian Price realizing, of course, that his pitcher was due up 4th in this inning. Now, Jumbo is ready.
Ready to bring in a little Cholula. Boy, a little Smokey Joe.
Good crowd tonight. Beautiful night for baseball. Reds jumped in front 1-0 on the Votto home run in the very first inning. Nationals tied the game in the 5th, took the lead in the top of this 6th, and the Reds have answered the bell in the bottom of the inning. Sac fly RBI by Phillips to drive in a run which tied the game, and then consecutive 2-out run scoring singles from Billy Hamilton and Zach Kozai. All 3 runs charged to Taylor Jordan. And Kozai nearly drifting too far off the bag.
Cozart with an aggressive secondary lead. You could see him buckle a little bit as he came back. But it's tough to pick up the catcher when there is a left-handed batter there. That's why Ramos used Votto as a shield to fire down the first baseline. That's the old Yadier Molina trick.
3 runs in this inning, the most the Reds have scored since the 3rd inning on that Sunday against the Giants. That's all the way back on the 17th of this month when they scored 4 times. So it's been a while. They've had a hard time getting that number in a game of late. 3-2 pitch. Strike 3 called, and that'll end the inning. But the Reds get 3 runs. Hamilton and Cozart with big 2-out hits to break the tie. 4-2. We go to the 7th. A solo home run, his first here in the month of May. That came in the very first inning. 1-0 Reds. The Nationals tied the game against DeSclafani in the 5th. Took the lead on a single by Wilson Ramos in the 6th inning, 2-1. But in the just completed bottom of the 6th inning, 2nd and 3rd, 1 out. Brandon Phillips off the bench. A sac fly to tie it. Billy Hamilton, a 2-out RBI single to make it 3-2. He stole 2nd. And that set the stage for Zach Cozart. A 2-out single to center field. Plating Billy. A 3-run inning. And the Reds with a 2-run lead as they will now hand the ball to right-hander Jumbo Diaz.
Well, we've seen the starters step up tonight. We've seen the offense step up tonight. Now it's time for the bullpen to slam the door. I would imagine it will be Diaz here, then Cingrani, then Chapman if all goes well for the Reds.
Well, here we go. And it's ball 1 to Denard Span. Span is 0 for 3. Has grounded out 3 times. Fastball from Jumbo at 97 miles per hour. Even to count 1 ball, 1 strike. Reds already have Cingrani loosening in the bullpen. Of course, you've got the big left-handed bat due up 4th in the inning, and that would be Bryce Harper. You know, if you're wondering, and a lot of people like to play that, you know, that matchup game. How do they do against righties? How do they do against lefties? Harper has been a .283 batter this season against left-handed pitching. 2 of his 18 home runs have come against left-handers. And there's a base hit to start the inning by Denard Span. Span, not a big base stealing threat. He was at one time in his career, not so much anymore.
And with what this offense is doing, really doesn't have to be.
Strike one on the shortstop, Ian Desmond, who's 2 for 3, and an infield hit. They're driving a run in the 5th. Runner goes, swinging a foul ball out of play, and Jumbo now in front of Ian Desmond at 1-2.
I think that was a straight steal, Tom. As Ian Desmond was stepping towards the third base bag and trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark, and Span never looked back in.
It's a very good stolen base percentage there by Span. 78%. That's really good. Two balls, 2 strikes on Ian Desmond. Yunel Escobar waits on deck. Leadoff man aboard. The Reds in front by 2. We're into 7th. Struck him out on a 98-mile-per-hour fastball away from it. Well, you said to bring the hot sauce, Cowboy.
And it's time for it. That's your flamethrower, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce. A little Blue Bayou.
Did you throw a little bit of that on your chicken tonight?
I like it on my eggs. Scrambled that in.
Yunel Escobar fouls it out of play. Escobar, a pair of singles in the game, has hit the ball very sharply twice. When he's up there hacking 2, no balls and 2 strikes. Escobar is proving to be a very shrewd pickup by these Washington Nationals. You know, when they first brought him in, the idea was he was going to compete a little bit with Espinosa over there at second base. And then all of a sudden Rendon goes down. He's been forced to move over to third, and they're hitting him third in the batting order. Tells you a little bit about what kind of player they're getting right now.
Well, they also gave up a pretty good pitcher in Tyler Clippard, who is closing for the Oakland Athletics. He had some awfully good years with this Washington Nationals club.
Went to a couple of all-star games. No balls and 2 strikes on Escobar. Look at those numbers from a 7th inning on. Nearly a .400 batter. You know, the Nationals were picked by virtually everybody, not everybody, but certainly the overwhelming majority, to be the team to beat. Not only the National League East, but the National League entirely, especially after they made the big deal to get Max Scherzer. Pena picks up the ball, and the runner is safe at second. The runner who swung and missed is out. 2 away in the inning. Decision time now for Brian Price. Do you intentionally walk Harper and face Zimmerman?
I think he's going to bring in Cingrani.
That's exactly what he's going to do. You were the guy that said before this game started, however, Cowboy, that if you were facing Bryce Harper the way he's going right now, that you would just hand him ball 4 and we'll take our chances with the next guy. By bringing in Cingrani, you're not intentionally walking Bryce Harper.
No, but in this situation, 4-2 lead, I don't want Zimmerman coming to the plate with a chance to put him ahead.
All right, we'll take a break. Showdown when we return. Cingrani v. Harper. Beginning Sunday, July the 12th. Tickets are available online at allstargame.com. That'll be that All-Star Sunday. All right. Tony Cingrani, the one-time closer in college. And of course, had an outstanding rookie year as a starter. Had his ups and downs. Injured last year, now working exclusively out of the bullpen. And here he goes with Bryce Harper.
You know what Harper's thinking. He's not thinking single.
The runner at second base is Denard Span. The Reds lead by 2. Holy Moses.
That'll be the only pitch that Cingrani throws as J.J. Hoover is up in the bullpen.
Well, Harper is certainly one of those guys who will wear his emotions on his sleeve. I think Votto's coming down to say, you got to be kidding me. You think he's trying to hit you here?
Now Denard Span is heading that way.
And this is where Harper is, you know, and he has since he came in. You admire his passion, but he is quickly has become one of those guys where you love him or you hate him. There's no middle ground. He was voted by the other players in Major League Baseball during this offseason, and rest assured he hasn't forgotten it, as the most overrated player in the game.
He is a lightning rod.
But I mean, come on. That's just ridiculous.
Fastball hit him square in the back.
And then he paints the inside corner to a right-handed batter. Now, in fairness, because we can't read Cingrani's mind and no one's going to tell the truth at the end of the day, if you're Harper and where that pit hit you, right between the numbers, well,
you think you got hit on purpose.
You think you got hit on purpose.
It's a lot easier to walk a guy that way than it is to throw those 4 balls.
Well, we'll certainly keep an eye if Cingrani's able to put Zimmerman away here, and as everybody's sort of walking, because they've got to crisscross one another at least. You know, they don't have to. Harper can turn around and start walking into right field. But he might walk, mosey over towards the pitcher's mound as his glove's being brought out to him. Inning over. Cingrani staring him down. Not much from Harper. Cingrani takes care of business. Well. Could be a good weekend around here. Comes to Fox and Fox Sports 1 for the first time ever. Exclusive coverage of the 115th United States Open Championship. Live from Chambers Bay Golf Course, June 18th, Fox Sports 1, Fox, and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Reds 4, Nationals 2. Reds will bat in the bottom half of the 7th inning. Fourth pitcher brought on tonight for Washington.
Blake Trainer.
And first pitch fastball at 97 miles per hour is in there, strike to Todd Frazier.
Yeah, smooth with a little sink to go with it.
6 separate stints with the Washington Nationals, and this one long gone. Wow.
swing slider. Frazier hit that a mile. This baby just spins up there.
Jay Bruce, a bouncing ball to Espinosa. 1 out here in the 7th. The Reds now with a 3-run lead, their largest lead of the night. That's way back.
Oh, yeah. You get up there around those Kroger signs, you know you hit it a long way.
Frazier's got to be the man in the home run derby. You know, home ballpark. I mean, now no one from the National League did much of anything last year, but he ended up getting into the finals of the thing. And I mean, you know, this is his place, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's got to be on that National League team.
Gotta wonder if you might see 2 guys that are playing in this game tonight in that thing.
Oh yeah. And, you know, the thing is, you know, I would name Frazier the captain of the National League team. He knows his ballpark. He knows the other hitters that come in, and who might be best in a ballpark like this, or theoretically, you know, I mean, they're all going to be good.
Well, he also knows where the ball carries on a given night.
Sure, that's what I mean.
I mean, guys like Harper and Stanton, they play here 1 time a year.
Base hit center field by Brian Pena. Almost 29,000 on hand for this Friday night here at Great American Ballpark. Most of which it will stick around for the big fireworks show. In fact, a lot of the boats out on the Ohio River hanging around waiting for the big fireworks show tonight. Well, that looks fun right about now, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Perfect night to be out there.
Number of them starting to linger around. Anticipation of the fireworks show, which is just a great show. Of course, Rozzy based right out of here in Cincinnati, which provides the fireworks for most of the big shows all across the country. They get one, and that's all. 2 away in the inning. Tell you what, man, that Escobar cuts it loose. He guy's got a gun.
Well, he's got shortstop hands and he has shortstop reflexes. He gets rid of the ball quickly. He's a middle infielder by trade. And when you've got a guy playing at third base, I mean, that ball was in and out of his glove like right now.
Now Schumacher. He had one of the biggest hits in this game. After Bird had walked with 1 out, the Reds were down a run an inning ago. Schumacher doubled over the head of Bryce Harper in right field, putting runners at second and third, setting the table for that 3-run come from behind rally. Takes up and away. 1-1 on Skip.
This kid does not look like he's throwing 97, 98. But that escort radar gun is reading it with regularity.
Well, his last 6 games, this guy's been dealing. Until tonight, he allowed the home run to Frazier, but his last 12 innings, he has allowed only 1 run. That was a solo home run. And has struck out 14 opponents, hitting 175 against him.
That's only the 2nd home run he's given up all year.
Three and two. Jam shot roller to the right side, should in the inning, and it does. But Frazier flexing his muscles to lead off the 7th. His home run gives the Reds a 3-run lead as we go to the 8th.
Nationals here at GABP. It's part of Super Saturdays. First 25,000 fans in attendance will receive a Billy Hamilton bobblehead. It's presented by Cincinnati Bell. For tickets, 513-381-REDS. Select Kroger locations or reds.com/tickets. And who knows, maybe there's a supersonic spring in that neck or head, because Billy Hamilton's bobblehead should bobble faster than other players. Just my opinion.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't it? Well, here's Ramos. Leads off an inning for the 3rd time tonight. He's bounced to 3rd, doubled, thrown out of the plate back in the 5th. That was a force play. And then he broke a 1-1 tie with a single to center, plating Zimmerman in the 6th. The Reds answered with 3 in the bottom of the 6th to take a 2-run lead. The Frazier home run in the 7th makes it 5-2. We're now in the 8th. Ramos will be followed by Espinosa, and then Michael Taylor. Then the pitcher spot.
Ramos swung as though he never saw that ball.
Fly ball to right field. Jay Bruce back a couple of steps, waits on it. 1 away. Not a ridiculously quick turnaround tomorrow, but an afternoon game nonetheless. A reminder, if you're thinking about coming down, 4:10 start, and if you're one of the first 25,000 fans through the gate, you get that aforementioned Billy Hamilton bobblehead tomorrow. Pitching matchup of the right-hander Raisel Iglesias for the Reds, trying to bounce back from a subpar outing in Cleveland last weekend. And he will be opposed by left-hander Gio Gonzalez. Gonzalez 4-2, but for him it's a very high ERA at 4.5.
Especially from what we've seen of him in the past.
Yes. Every time the Reds see him, he's throwing goose eggs. 53 innings, he's allowed 62 hits along with 19 walks. Opponents are batting .295 on the year against Gio Gonzalez. The Reds will miss the big money free agent right-hander Max Scherzer. And boy, to hear the Nationals people talk about Scherzer, you know, when they're in the other league, you don't see him much. And they talked about how you think, you know, you're getting a #1 starter and what all that means. And then there's a different level even to the #1 starters. And the Nationals people say that Scherzer has been off the charts good.
Highly competitive.
3-2 on Danny Espinosa. Reds will go to D.C. They'll be finished with this team before the All-Star break. That is a final trip leading up to the All-Star break. They'll go to Washington for 3, Miami for 4. And Ronnie has just walked David Espinosa. Now finishing up that thought on Scherzer, his earned run average through his first 9 starts as a Washington National is 1.51. It's pretty good. Strike 1 on Michael Taylor.
And really, if you look at the first few starts that Scherzer had early in the season, the Nationals didn't get him a whole lot of runs.
Oh, he's 6-3. He has a decision in every start he has made this year. Cardinals in the 5th inning, a 2-0 lead over the Dodgers. Arizona 4-3 leading, bottom of the 5th inning in Milwaukee. Pirates will be playing later tonight out west in San Diego. And told you the Cubs were defeated earlier today at home 8-4 by the Kansas City Royals. Royals snapping a 4-game losing streak. Strike 3 called on the inside corner. Fastball at 93 takes care of Taylor. 2 out. Dan Uggla will be sent up to pinch hit.
When you're looking away and you get that paralyzer right on the inside corner, tough to pull the trigger.
Jeff Pico will trot out just to make sure they're on the same page. Facing Uggla. Of course, Uggla was signed to a free agent contract by the Atlanta Braves. They are paying a fortune to Dan Uggla over the next couple of years. And last season, they just released Uggla. Giants gave him a shot, didn't work out. Nationals brought him in this year to compete at second base. And you can make an argument he has the single biggest hit in their season so far this year. That was the game when they were ironically playing in Atlanta. They trailed 9-1. They trailed 10-2. And you see his only home run of the year was a home run in extra innings to win the game for the Washington Nationals. And ever since then, they have lost 6 while winning 22 times. I think you and I, Cowboy, were on TV that night when they did that. We made the comment that, you know, if they should take off, that's the kind of game that could ignite a season. Now, we have a long way to go, but it certainly has ignited a team that was, after they won that game, 7-13.
Well, the season can be an emotional roller coaster, and it is most of the time. You have to take advantage of those momentum builders, and I'm sure for the Washington Nationals that was one of them.
1-2 to count. Sails away. I mean, think about that. They were 7-13. They are now 28-19. 21-6 since that home run. Now Cingrani has watched his control go awry. Got ahead. And now the count has gone full. Top of the order next. Not only did Uggla hit the game-winning home run, he had the game-tying triple. Again, this was a game the Atlanta Braves led 9-1 and 10-2. Uggla the triple to tie it, and the bomb off Grilli on a 2-strike, 2-out pitch that proved to be the game winner. That is 2 walks in the inning with a 3-run lead given up by Cingrani. Boy, it's never easy. He's hit a batter and walked 2 of the 5 he's faced. 6 he's faced now. Wondering how Denard Span, as a left-handed batter, has handled left-handed pitching this year. Only 6 hits and 33 at bats for Span. So this is if Cingrani can throw strikes. Ball 1. You know, if you're Brian Price, I mean, you bleed for the guy sitting up here when he has to go to his bullpen. I mean, let's just be honest about it. There are days some of these guys look like the best relievers in baseball. But every time that gate opens so far this season, you have no idea what you're going to get from anybody.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
J.J. Hoover is ready in the bullpen. This will be the final batter Cingrani faces, you got to believe. If Span reaches, they bring on the right-hander Hoover to face a right-handed batting Yunel Escobar. Perhaps.
Desmond.
I'm sorry, Desmond, yes. Escobar would be thereafter. 3 balls and a strike on Span, and there's strike 2. Not sure Denard agreed with that one necessarily. Money pitch coming up here for Cingrani. His team has a 3-run lead. 2 outs here in the 8th inning. In the air behind the plate, and that one will drift in amongst the fans out of play.
He may very well have swung at ball 4 there.
All right, let's see if Cingrani on this is 27th pitch of the inning, 33rd overall, can put things to rest in this Washington Nationals 8th inning with 2 on and 2 out. They're loaded, his 3rd walk of the inning. And Brian Price will come get it. A 3-run lead in the 8th inning, and the bases are full on walks. Hoover will come on for the Reds. We're back in a moment. Cingrani off the hook. Cingrani started a clean inning with a 3-run lead and has walked the bases loaded. There are 2 outs. Now Hoover, a guy you take away really one bad outing. This guy's putting together a rock solid year.
Well, you look at the numbers. A 2.41 ERA, only 8 hits in 18 2/3 innings. And in that outing that you're talking about, that's where he had the majority of his walks. He's got 11 on the year, but for the most part, he has thrown the ball exceptionally well.
But he walks in with no room for error. As Christopher Negron takes over at second base, replacing Skip Schumacher. Part of a double switch. Negron will lead off when the Reds bat in the bottom of the 8th.
You got a guy at the plate, as we talked about earlier. He wants to swing it.
Ian Desmond, 2 for 2, or 2 out of 4, I beg your pardon. He's knocked in a run. He has a pair of infield hits in the game tonight. And you see his numbers against Hoover, 2 of 7 with a home run. Ball 1 away. JJ's been in many of these spots before. Goes a fastball at 95, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
Watch the hips and the leg open. Well, you know what Desmond's thinking about. If that helmet wasn't on as tight as it is, it might have fallen off.
Wow, it looked pretty good. Apparently, Fox track says just off the outside corner. Two-one delivery. Boy, and he's swinging from his heels, isn't he?
He is.
That time his helmet did fall off.
Hips already open. Front foot headed towards third base. Just elevate that baby a little bit higher and let him go on back to the dugout, because he's going to swing.
2-2 on Ian Desmond. Struck him out with a fastball at 97. JJ slams the door. Reds will bat in the bottom of the 8th inning with a 3-run lead. Live. It's brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. We'll have it for you tomorrow, coming your way at 3:30 in the afternoon, and then 12:30 on Sunday. Gio Gonzalez, a left-hander we talked about a little while ago. Been a really good pitcher for a number of years. And the youngster Raisel Iglesias will start it for the Reds. The Nationals bring on their 5th pitcher of the game. Big left-hander. Another guy's been around for a long time. Hard-throwing Matt Thornton. What a job by J.J. Hoover coming in to take care of Ian Desmond.
He wasn't messing around either.
No.
Watch these pitches from Hoover. Gets ahead with a strike, elevates a little further, and then a little further than that. Just enough to entice the swing.
Negrona's first at bat of the game pops up. Hard to believe Thornton is now 38 years old. Man, time really flies by. They billed him at one time as, you know, perhaps the next Randy Johnson when he was initially drafted in the first round by Seattle. Back in 1998, the 22nd pick overall. He's a Michigan native. And after they tried him as a starter for a number of years, he finally came to Seattle as a reliever. And after a couple of shaky seasons there, he put together a long string of very good years pitching for the White Sox, before being picked up from the Yankees on waivers last season. 2 up, 2 down. Aroldis Chapman warming up in the Reds bullpen. Looks like he'll have a chance to come on and pick up his 8th save of the season. Unless Cozart, the way he's swinging the bat, he might play long ball to make it a 4-run lead. He has hits in 3 straight at bats, including a 2-out run scoring single in a 3-run 6th inning. Three pop-ups should end the inning. So here we go. 9th inning. Escobar, Harper, and Zimmerman. How about the Harper-Chapman matchup? Legs, 2 runs, 9 hits, 12 stranded. 10 of those have come in the last 4 innings for the Nationals. And now trying to make it a perfect 8 of 8 in save chances on the season is left-hander Aroldis Chapman.
Well, this is what Chapman, he thrives on this kind of situation. The tougher the situation, the better, but especially when you've got this kind of crowd here and a safe situation on the line.
Escobar, strangely, has never faced Chapman. Now, granted, he's bounced to the American League in recent years, but of course he was over in the National League for a number of seasons before that. Bryce Harper is 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts against Chapman. Zimmerman, 1 of 3, has struck out twice. So first save opportunity for Aroldis Chapman in 15 days. It's in the air and off the top of the dugout. Strike 1 to Escobar.
And if you remember, Yunel Escobar, Cuban native. Brian Pena the same, and the man on the mound the same. And if you tell me there's not a little competition there.
April the 14th, the last time Aroldis Chapman had May the 14th was the last time he had a save chance. Oh, mercy. 101. God is the only one that could hit that pitch.
He was getting ready to throw this back by the time he got the bat through the zone.
One out.
You see that ball up there at 101. There's no chance of hitting that. No chance of hitting that.
All right, now Harper, and the crowd already all over him based on what happened his last at bat, last plate appearance. .101, he does make contact. Normally guys can't even put the bat on the ball. Bat up in a strike zone.
Down, especially
right
a left-hander.
Look out. That was a slider at 91. Big fella's feeling it tonight. These two will rest assuredly be teammates on the National League's All-Star game in this ballpark come mid-July. But not now. And a base hit into center field on a 102-mile-per-hour fastball. How about that? That's pretty impressive.
I think if you're a left-handed batter facing Chapman in this kind of situation, you got to reach down deep in your belly to hang in there.
No doubt about it. That's pretty impressive.
But I would say that you don't get to where Bryce Harper is at age 22 without a little edge. He might have a little chip on both shoulders.
Imagine what that feels like now. And I brought it up earlier, but these were his peers that voted on this. And you know what? I think most people who have watched baseball the last couple of seasons would probably agree. It's not to say that he can't become the player that he looks like he's starting to become. But with all the hype coming up, going all the way back to high school, and the fact that, you know, he never driven in more than 59 runs in a season, and everybody talks about him and on the cover of this or on the cover of that, marketed here, marketed there. And, you know, his peers voted him the most overrated player in Major League Baseball before this season ever began. So if there was a chip there to start with, you mentioned it might be both shoulders. That may have been the other one.
I'll take him on my team.
All day, every day.
I like that edge. I like his enthusiasm and I like his drive.
Oh, doctor. 2 away in the inning. Zimmerman saying that's just not fair.
I'm trying to catch up to Highway 101 and you drop that on me.
That's what Pena called for in the at-bat against Harper, and Chapman shook him off. He wanted to beat him with a gas. Right?
Oh, yeah.
You know that feeling, though, right?
Yes, I do. I don't know how to throw it 102, but.
Tapper, Frazier, with time. Reds win. Chapman is saved. DeSclafani earned the win tonight. 6 innings of 2-run baseball. Jumbo Cingrani Hoover with a huge out in the 8th inning. And the Reds, by the Rockets' red glare, come away with a 5-2 win here tonight in the first of 3. We're back with more from Great American Ballpark right after these messages.